Chapter 7. The nightly party at Gotham's hottest dance club was well underway when Dana and her friend Chelsea strolled into the club. Lights flashed in rhythm to the beat of the dance mix served up by the club's DJ. Dana and Chelsea had gone all out and dressed in glittering dance outfits. They swayed to the music as they strolled slowly across the dance floor, checking out the crowd.
Every once in a while we have to do it, Dane. Ditch the guys and have a night out to ourselves.
Chelsea said as she glided across the room.
It may be a change for you, Chelsea. I don't see enough of Terry to know the difference.
Dana responded.
Well, Terry's sweet and all, but who says you can't make friends with someone new?
Not a chance.
Came a familiar voice from behind Dana. Terry danced up to his girlfriend, took her hand, and the couple shuffled away from Chelsea.
Terry! I thought you'd be working as usual.
Dana said. Replied Terry, his face turning serious.
The bad news is, for the time being, I'm not going to have much money coming in.
Terry's face brightened.
The good news is, you have me all to yourself.
I can live with that.
Dana smiled. The two hugged, then continued dancing. Suddenly, all eyes turned to a corner of the dance floor. A spotlight focused on identical twins in dazzling, skin-tight dance outfits, moving together in perfect time to the music. The two girls finished their routine, then strutted across the dance floor. Heads turned to follow the beautiful twins, who were obviously looking to draw attention to themselves, and succeeded. The twins stepped up to Terry and Dana. One of the girls slipped in between the couple, who were busy dancing.
Cutting in.
She said, pushing Dana away with a shift of her hips.
Hey!
Dana cried, stumbling back into the crowd. She started toward the girls, ready for a fight. But before she could get close, a large, gangly man wearing clown makeup stepped up from behind a large bank of speakers. He grabbed Dana, covering her mouth to stifle her gasp. Then he pulled her into the shadows. The second twin had distracted Terry long enough for him to have missed Dana's abduction.
Dana?
He called out, looking around. Swiftly, the twins grabbed each one of Terry's arms and steered him into the thick, gyrating crowd. Terry yanked his arms free and pushed back through the crowd.
Dana!
He shouted, scanning the dance floor. Terry caught a flash of motion out of the corner of his eye, but he was too late. He picked up the spinning form of one of the twins just as she kicked him in the jaw, sending him sprawling into the throng of dancers.
It was her,
the twin who had kicked him said. She smiled innocently and pointed to her sister. Terry continued looking for Dana, moving away from the twins. They followed, and again each grabbed an arm. This time they pulled him back roughly. In a flash, Terry realized he was dealing with the Didi twins from the Joker's gang. He quickly grabbed each girl's head and banged them together. Terry heard a growl from behind him. He spun around in time to see Wolf leap high over the dancing crowd. There was no time to react. Wolf landed right on top of him. The two tumbled backward, crashing hard through a table and slamming to the ground. The crowd of horrified dancers screamed and ran for the exits. Wolf jumped off Terry and circled for another attack. Terry instinctively flipped his wrist, hoping to summon a batarang. Then he grimaced at his foolishness. His costume was back at the Batcave. Wolf leapt again, but this time Terry was prepared. He rolled onto his back and kicked the half-human beast away. Wolf went flying into a nearby speaker. Electric sparks crackled through the dust. But there wasn't even a second to recover. One Didi grabbed Terry from behind, while the other Didi launched herself feet first at his midsection. She landed a sharp, two-footed kick to his gut. Terry collapsed just in time for Chucko to join the party. He grabbed Terry by the hair and yanked his head back.
Don't know why the boss wants a drug like you out of the way, but hey, as long as it's fun.
Chucko grinned. Then he slammed into Terry with his best right hook, sending him sprawling onto the floor. Not far away, Dana struggled furiously to free herself from Ghoul's grasp. She brought her sharp heel down onto the top of Ghoul's foot. As he yelped in pain, she broke free and ran.
Hey! Terry!
She shouted, scrambling to get away. But Ghoul was quick. He reached out and grabbed Dana, pulling her back. Terry heard his name and looked up in time to see Ghoul grabbing Dana roughly. He jumped to his feet and raced toward them. Chucko stepped into his path, but Terry was so enraged at the thought of the Jokers harming Dana, he brushed the gang member aside. The Didis came after Terry next. but he swiftly vaulted over them, knocking their heads together again for good measure. Meanwhile, Ghoul had grown impatient with Dana struggling.
Let me go!
He dragged her to the edge of a platform, high up on the club's top level, and shoved her off.
Sure, cutes.
Terry spotted his girlfriend's situation as he raced through the quickly emptying club.
Dana!
He shouted. Timing his leap, he caught her falling body before it reached the floor. The impact sent him crashing into a nearby table. He quickly scrambled to his knees. Nearby, Chucko was tossing blasters to the DDs. He kept one for himself.
Slag him!
The Jokers opened fire, sending the remaining dancers diving for cover behind overturned tables. Terry dashed through the club with Dana in his arms, shielding her body with his. He spotted Chelsea, who was crouched in terror behind the juice bar.
Dana?
Stay out of sight!
He told her. Chelsea nodded and pulled Dana's limp body close to her, wondering exactly what Terry planned to do against a gang of crazed clowns carrying blasters. Terry wondered the same thing to himself. Then he spotted the club's giant slushy machine. The 30-foot-tall glass machine was used to dispense frozen drinks to the club's patrons, but Terry had other plans for it. He dashed up the stairs to the same high platform Dana had been pushed from.
There!
Darting left and then right, he kept low, dodging streams of blaster fire from the gang below. Then, taking a running start, Terry leapt from the platform. He landed on top of the slushy machine.
What's he doing?
Dee Dee asked, watching Terry climb around to the far side of the machine.
You got me.
The other Dee Dee replied.
Just finish him!
Chucko ordered, firing another blast. Terry scooted to the rear of the machine. Bracing his back against the wall, he pushed the top of the machine with his feet. It started rocking back and forth. Using the momentum, Terry rocked it again. Then a third time, kicking out with his legs. The huge glass tower toppled forward. Terry slid down its side, riding the glass like a snowboarder on the slopes. He jumped off just as the machine hit the floor. The massive container shattered, sending thousands of gallons of sticky, icy slush across the dance floor like a tidal wave. Chucko caught up to Terry as the sloshing liquid rolled up over his ankles.
Aw, you made a mess, Drag.
He said sarcastically, aiming his blaster right at Terry's chest. He pulled the trigger, but instead of a deadly laser fire, blue-green slush belched from his blaster. Chucko stared down at his weapon and never even saw Terry's punch coming. Terry flattened the chunky clown just as the slushy wave hit the club's lighting generator. Sparks flew as the liquid seeped into the high-voltage box. The generator exploded, plunging the room into darkness. Flames burst out and small explosions ripped through the club. The Jokers raced toward the back door through the flaming chaos. Their mission to get rid of Terry was a failure. Terry, meanwhile, dashed back to the bar. Chelsea and Dana were gone. The frantic teenager ran outside in time to see Dana being strapped onto a waiting ambulance gurney.
Dana!
She's got a bad bump and some cuts, but she's gonna be okay.
Chelsea explained to Terry as the paramedics loaded Dana into the ambulance.
Why were those guys after you?
I don't know.
Terry replied, head down. Then he grasped Chelsea by the shoulders.
Look, I'm gonna go talk to the cops. Stay with her, okay, Chels? I'll come as soon as I can.
Sure.
Chelsea said, climbing into the back of the ambulance. Terry watched as the ambulance pulled away. He could only think of how he was to blame for putting his girlfriend's life in danger. But he couldn't let that stop it. He ran toward his motorcycle, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Chapter 8. Deep in the Batcave, Bruce Wayne was hard at work, mixing chemicals at a lab table. Ace slept by his feet. Several different mixtures sat in rounded vials on the table. A large beaker warmed on a burner, smoke rising from the liquid surface. One small vial was labeled Joker Antitoxin. Ace jumped to his feet, letting out a low, menacing growl.
What is it, boy?
Bruce asked. Ace's tail whipped back and forth, his teeth bared. Then the hound rushed forward, bolting up the stairs to the Wayne Manor library.
Ace!
Bruce shouted after him. Bruce could hear Ace's savage growls and barking. It sounded as if a struggle was going on, as if Ace was attacking someone or something. Then there was a high-pitched yelp, followed by silence.
Ace!
Bruce shouted, leaping to his feet and grabbing his cane. He started for the stairs, then stopped suddenly at the sight of a round ball-like object bouncing toward him. Bruce instinctively backed away as the object stopped at the bottom of the stairs. He had just a moment to glimpse a smiley face painted onto the round metal globe before it exploded, releasing a cloud of gas. Bruce covered his mouth, coughing and grasping for air. He staggered to the lab table and grabbed at several vials of the antitoxin he'd been working on. The slender glass vials tumbled from his trembling hands. One shattered, another rolled under the table. On his knees and choking now, Bruce stared up through tearing eyes to see a tall silhouette slowly descending the stairs. As the figure grew closer, Bruce recognized him. It was the Joker.
Don't get up, Bruce. It's just an old friend come by to say hello.
Bruce struggled to get to his feet, but the Joker moved swiftly, grabbing him by his jacket and knocking him back into a chair. He forced his hateful, grinning face close to Bruce's.
Hello, Batman.
He spat out, laughing uncontrollably at his long-awaited moment of triumph. Then he lunged for Bruce's neck. Terry's motorcycle wove its way through the Gotham City traffic, ducking between trucks and around cars. Terry pressed a control switch on his helmet, and the built-in phone dialed the number at Wayne Manor.
Leave a message,
Came Bruce Wayne's terse voice. Terry spoke quickly after the beep.
Hey, the Joker's little playmates were after me tonight. Me, not Batman. This whole thing stinks, Wayne, and you know why. I need some straight answers from... Wait.
Terry suddenly realized that something was wrong.
It's night. Where does he go?
He muttered to himself. He disconnected the call and gunned the bike's engine, tearing down the avenue. A few minutes later, Terry roared through the entrance to Wayne Manor, growing more disturbed at the sight of the unlocked gate. Leaping from his bike, he raced through the open front door.
Wayne!
Terry called out.
Wayne!
He yelled again, entering the library. A weak whimper stopped him in his tracks. Ace was stretched out in a corner, struggling to wake up. Terry knelt beside the dazed dog and stroked his head gently. Then he glanced at the large grandfather clock that served as the secret entrance to the Batcave. It had been shoved to one side, and the stairway to Bruce Wayne's secret lair stood open, exposed and vulnerable. Dashing down the stairs, Terry gasped at the sight of spray-painted words that covered everything. The walls and floor of the Batcave were covered with the Joker's signature graffiti. So were the many artifacts and souvenirs of Batman's illustrious past. The long display case of costumes was shattered. The dummies wearing the Batman, Nightwing, and Batgirl costumes were knocked over, scattered on the floor. The Robin costume had been torn to shreds.
Please, God, no.
Terry whispered, scanning the Batcave. Then he spotted Bruce, slumped over the Batcomputer. Terry rushed to his side and gently turned him over. The sight of his mentor made his heart stop cold. The Joker's hideous grin spread across Bruce's face like a horrible mask. His eyes appeared lifeless. Panic swept through Terry. He grabbed Bruce, stretched him out on the floor, and furiously pumped his chest. Bruce's parched lips parted slightly and a terrible, unnatural giggle came out. Terry was horrified and confused, but relieved that at least Bruce was alive. Fighting to speak through giggles he seemed unable to control, Bruce gasped out a few words.
Floor. Under. Table.
He wheezed. Terry dashed to the table and dropped to his knees, grabbing the vial of Joker antitoxin that Bruce had dropped earlier. He quickly loaded it into a spray hypo and injected the serum into Bruce's arm. Instantly, Bruce's features softened and the mask-like grin dissolved into a tired, sober look. Bruce's head relaxed, then fell to one side, and he drifted off into a fitful sleep. Terry ran to the phone and called the only person he could think of for help. Then he slung Bruce over his shoulder and carried him upstairs. A short while later, Barbara Gordon arrived at Wayne Manor. She went to Bruce's bedside, looking down at the man who had played such a huge role in her life. First, in her days as Batgirl to his Batman, then in her personal relationship with Bruce, she became one of the few people he had ever allowed to get close to him. She had reluctantly continued their collaboration once she became Gotham's police commissioner. Barbara dabbed at his fevered brow with a damp cloth, then kissed him gently on the forehead.
How is he?
Terry asked, entering the bedroom.
The antitoxin's done all it can. It's up to him now.
Barbara explained.
Thanks for coming. I didn't know who else to call.
Barbara smiled knowingly and shrugged.
Who else is there?
That reminds me. I'd better check on our other patient.
Terry headed downstairs to the living room, where Ace was sprawled out on the couch watching TV.
How you doing, killer?
He asked playfully, scratching Ace's huge head.
Yeah, rough night for me too.
He grabbed the TV remote and hit the news channel. The computer-generated newsman was smiling as usual, but it was the picture of Bruce in the upper right-hand corner of the screen that caused Terry to snap to attention.
Sad news from the financial world this morning. The return of Bruce Wayne to his family's company has been delayed due to an accident. Wayne Enterprises' Jordan Price had this to say.
We received a call from Mr. Wayne's houseboy this morning saying Mr. Wayne had taken a bad fall.
Price explained, his image replacing Bruce.
Everyone at the Wayne Enterprises family sends their prayers and good wishes to our senior member for his speedy recovery.
I'll bet.
Terry muttered, flipping off the TV. He looked at Barbara.
Not every creep in Gotham wears a purple suit.
It'd make my job simpler if they did.
The Joker knew about Bruce, about me, probably about you too.
Someone knows, I'll give you that. But it's not the Joker. Not the real one.
Bruce said he was dead.
And?
That's it. I know there's more. Barbara, I'm a part of this. I need the answers Bruce can't give me. I deserve them.
Barbara lowered her eyes in resignation. She knew Terry was right. She had to tell him the whole horrible story.
I thought talking about it would get easier over time, but some hurts never go away.
As she stared out the window at the Gotham skyline, Barbara's mind raced back to another Gotham. The Gotham of the days when she fought crime as Batgirl, with Batman and Robin at her side. She began telling the story, her eyes fixed on the skyline.
Dick Grayson, Nightwing, had left to establish himself in another city. There were 3 of us then, Bruce, myself, and Robin, Tim Drake.
Terry nodded, listening intently.
Robin was out alone that night when he came upon a woman in trouble.
Chapter 9. 35 years ago. Came the terrified screams. Robin looked down into the alley below the rooftop he'd just landed on.
Hero time.
The boy wonder fired a bat line and swung down into the alley. 2 thugs were closing in on a young woman. Robin slammed into the attackers feet first, knocking them to the ground. Then he did a mid-air flip and landed in front of the woman.
That evens things up a little.
The young crime fighter said.
Not really, bird boy.
The woman replied. Robin recognized the voice instantly. Harley, he thought. Harley Quinn was the Joker's partner and his girlfriend of sorts. Robin realized immediately that he had just swung into a trap. Harley pulled a mallet from her coat and whacked Robin on the head. The 2 thugs leapt at Robin. Battling through the pain in his head, Robin fought back. Harley raised the mallet for another blow, but Robin yanked it from her hand, sending her flying into a row of garbage cans. That's when a purple-gloved hand grabbed the teenager by the shoulder and shocked him with a massive charge of electricity. Robin cried, falling to the ground, knocked unconscious. A maniacal laugh echoed through the alley as the Joker stepped out of the shadows.
A bird in the hand,
he cackled, smoke still rising from his electric joy buzzer. The thugs dragged Robin from the alley as Harley hugged the grinning Joker. Then the happy twosome followed their hired lackeys and took Robin back to their secret lair. It didn't take long for Batman and Batgirl to realize that Robin was missing. Night after night, they scoured the city, searching everywhere, interrogating criminals, tracking down even the tiniest lead. For 3 agonizing weeks, they looked, but they found no sign of Tim. Then one night, an invitation arrived. Following its instructions, Batman and Batgirl swooped down to the roof of an abandoned warehouse. A huge, brightly colored package that looked like a giant jack-in-the-box greeted them. Batman cautiously tossed a batarang at the box's lap, popping it open, and a dummy of Robin sprang from the box. It was dressed in a straitjacket. Suddenly, the dummy's head popped off. Batman instinctively pulled Batgirl to safety behind a chimney, just as the rolling head exploded. The blast sent a shower of smoke and confetti spraying all around them. When the smoke had cleared, Batman looked at the charred remains of the dummy. On the still smoldering straitjacket, a single word was written.
Arkham.
Batman muttered, scowling. Arkham Asylum had been abandoned for a while. The inmates had moved to a newer, high-security building, while the old facility had been partially demolished and left to the elements. The Batmobile bashed through the locked gate of the old asylum. It screeched to a stop, and Batman and Batgirl leapt from their seats and dashed up to the rickety front steps. The two heroes cautiously made their way inside. The sound of a woman's voice singing a soft lullaby led them through the maze-like corridors to the asylum's operating theater. Stepping through the double doors, Batman and Batgirl were greeted by a bizarre sight. The huge room had been decorated to look like a twisted version of a normal home. Furniture and large toys were strewn all around. Areas of the enormous loft had been partitioned off with makeshift walls to form rooms. Batgirl quietly slipped away, climbing to the highest level of the theater. Batman, meanwhile, stepped to the center of the main level in time to see Harley Quinn lovingly place a vase of flowers onto a table.
Puddin' company!
She called out. The Joker slowly descended a long stairway.
Hello there. Welcome to our happy home.
He sang out.
Where's Robin?
Batman demanded, in no mood for joking around. Harley and the Joker looked at each other and shrugged.
Robin?
The Joker replied.
There's no Robin here.
Maybe he means our little Jay.
Harley suggested.
Of course! That's it!
The Joker chirped, snapping his fingers. From behind a curtained-off area, the sound of a boy's hysterical laughter echoed through the room. Shoving Harley aside, Batman strode purposefully toward the curtain. As if on cue, Harley pulled a strange-looking, clownish bazooka from under the table and fired it.
No peeking.
Brightly colored streamers shot from the weapon's muzzle, pinning one of Batman's arms to his side. Up at the top of the room, Batgirl pulled out her grappling gun, ready to swoop down. But Batman subtly signaled her to stay put and remain ready.
You know, Bats, we've been doing this little runaround of ours for years. It's been loads of laughs. But the sad fact is, none of us are getting any younger.
That old clock's a-ticking.
Quite right, Pooh. And Harley and I were thinking it was time to start a family. Add a Joker Jr. to our merry brood.
But rather than go through all the joy of childbirth, we decided to adopt.
We couldn't do it legally, but then we remembered you always had a few spare kids hanging around. So we borrowed one.
The Joker whipped open the curtains that had been dividing the room. Batman and Batgirl both gasped at the sight, revealed by the parting curtains.
No.
My God.
Robin was strapped to a medical table in the center of the room. His face was painted white, his hair was dyed green, and he was wearing a suit, just like the Joker's. The Joker and Harley stood behind Robin, beaming down at him like proud parents.
He needed a little molding, of course. What kid doesn't? But in time, we came to love him as our own. Say hello, JJ.
Robin turned to Batman with a blank stare, giggling insanely. Rage welled up within Batman's chest. He instinctively started toward Robin, but the Joker activated a remote control device and the operating table rolled away. Unable to contain herself any longer, Batgirl swung down from above, slamming into Harley. Then she leapt onto the rolling table, leaning in close as she loosened the straps that held her friend.
Robin! Robin!
She shouted. Robin giggled wildly.
Tim, it's Barbara. Can you hear me?
Robin shook his head. He pushed Batgirl away and leapt from the table.
Robin! Stop!
Harley grabbed Batgirl from behind. The two struggled, tumbling toward the theater's double doors, rolling to the edge of the building. The two women grappled as the rain poured down on the half-demolished structure. Alongside them was a broken ledge that dropped off many stories to the street below. Batgirl flipped Harley over and pinned her on her back.
How could you help Joker do it, Harley? Okay, so he roughed the kid up a little, but I'll make it right.
Harley replied, kicking Batgirl off her.
Yeah, you're mother of the stinking year. Ha, you'll see. We'll be one big happy family. Sweetie, get Mommy's bazooka.
And with that, Robin stepped from the shadows, holding the clownish bazooka.
Good boy.
Harley cooed. Robin tossed the bazooka to Harley, who trained the bizarre weapon on Batgirl.
Ha!
Without hesitation, Harley fired. Colored streamers headed right for Batgirl's leg, but she leapt up and the streamers zoomed by beneath her feet. They struck the barricade right in front of the ledge as Batgirl somersaulted forward and landed in front of Harley, knocking the weapon from her hands. The bazooka landed at Harley's feet and went off. Streamers wrapped around her legs and knocked her through the barricade. Batgirl reached out and grabbed Harley's arm to stop her fall, but both women dropped over the ledge. With her free hand, Batgirl grabbed an outcropping and managed to stop her fall, but Harley lost her grip and plunged into the darkness below. Meanwhile, Batman was tearing through the theater, searching for the Joker.
What's the matter, Batman?
The Joker taunted, his voice seeming to come from everywhere at once.
No witty comeback, no threat. Then I'll provide the narration.
The lights abruptly went out, and a grainy home movie flickered on a side wall of the theater. Images of Robin being subjected to Joker's demented villainy flashed across the screen. Batman was speechless with horror.
I'll begin with how I peeled back the layers of the boy's mind. Though he bravely tried to fight it at first, you would have been proud to see him so strong. But all too soon, the serums and the shocks took their toll, and the dear lad began to share such secrets with me. Secrets that are mine alone to know, Bruce.
A silhouette of the Joker's face appeared on the screen, blocking out the light from the projector. Batman watched as the Joker popped a candy into his mouth, then continued his taunts.
It's true, Batsy. I know everything. And kinda like the kid who peeks at his Christmas presents, I must admit, it's sadly anticlimactic. Behind all the sturm and batarangs, you're just a little boy in a playsuit crying for mommy and daddy. It'd be funny if it weren't so pathetic.
The Joker shrugged.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.
The Joker's shrill laughter was cut short. Batman had crashed through the projection booth window. The Dark Knight smashed into the Joker, who crumpled to the floor like a ragdoll whose seams had come undone.
If you don't like the movie, I've got slides.
Batman grabbed him and tossed him through the broken window onto the theater's floor.
I'll break you in two.
Batman snarled, his rage boiling over.
Oh, Batman, if you had the guts for that kind of fun, you would have done it years ago. I, on the other hand...
The Joker subtly moved a knife hidden in his sleeve into his waiting hand. He slashed right through the bat symbol on Batman's chest. Then he brought the knife down across Batman's leg. The Caped Crusader fell to the floor in pain, clutching his leg.
You've lost, Batman.
The Joker snarled, casting the knife aside.
Robin is mine. The last sound you hear will be our laughter.
He tossed Robin a brightly colored dart shooter that looked like a child's toy.
Here you go, sonny boy. Make Daddy proud. Deliver the punchline.
Robin grinned insanely and grasped the weapon with both hands. Giggling wildly, he looked from the Joker to Batman. Batman looked up at Robin. The heartbreak of what had become of his young friend overwhelmed any fear he felt.
Tim,
he called out softly.
Do Do it!
the Joker ordered, his face a twisted, grinning mask of rage. Robin's hands shook. The unnatural smile that had been frozen on his face melted into a look of panic and confusion. He giggled faster now, more afraid. Then he pointed the dart shooter at Batman, hesitated, and fired. But as he did so, he turned. A thin dart flew from the weapon. A small flag that said "Bang" unfurled from the dart and wedged into the Joker's chest. The Joker looked down in disbelief.
That's not funny.
He muttered, starting to fall forward. His smile faded.
That's not...
Then he collapsed, motionless. Robin dropped the weapon. His forced giggling turned into heaving sobs. Batman struggled to drag himself over to his distraught partner. Batgirl got there first. She hugged Robin tightly.
It's okay, Tim. It's okay.
Chapter 10.
We buried the Joker deep beneath Arkham. The only other person who knew what happened that night was my father, the first Commissioner Gordon. He promised to keep our secret. With his last act of cruelty, the Joker had tainted us all with compromise and deception. I suppose he had the last laugh after all.
Terry McGinnis sat on a couch in Bruce Wayne's living room, completely caught up in the incredible account he had just heard. Barbara Gordon was still staring out the window as she finished her story. She took off her glasses and rubbed her weary eyes. Reliving these events had drained her of energy, not to mention hope. Terry was overwhelmed. A number of things had become clear to him as he listened to the terrible tale.
I'm assuming his girlfriend bought it too,
he said, trying to fit all the pieces together.
We never found her body, but I doubt she'd be starting trouble now,
Barbara responded.
And Tim?
Terry asked, a little afraid of the answer he might receive.
We had a trusted friend, Dr. Leslie Tompkins. It took her a year, but she was able to help Tim back to sanity. Still, things were never really the same. Bruce forbade Tim to be Robin again. He blamed himself for what happened and swore he'd never endanger another young partner. Tim left us soon after that, determined to make it on his own.
Did they ever patch things up?
Barbara shook her head sadly.
Tim tried once or twice, but you know Bruce. I check up on Tim now and then. He's a top-level communications engineer, married, couple kids. Not too bad, all things concerned.
Terry nodded, his mind racing.
He deserved a happy ending. But he still has the most likely connection to that night.
Gotham City's huge communication tower rose above most of the other structures in town. The tall, needle-like building reached high into the sky, beaming audio, video, and data signals for hundreds of miles in all directions. As an evening chill engulfed Gotham, a uniformed man in a hover bucket glided to a spot just below the top of the tower. Silently, the man checked some readouts on a flashing piece of electronic equipment attached to the outside of the tower.
It looks okay on this side. I'm going up to the dish.
He spoke into a wrist communicator. The engineer made his way to the large communications dish that sat like a crown on the very top of the tower. He pulled out his tools and went to work reattaching frayed fiber optic wires. A tiny glimmer of movement flashed out of the corner of his eye, and a shudder ran up his spine. The quiet, scraping footsteps that followed were unmistakable.
You might as well show yourself. I heard you a mile away,
he said loudly, not taking his eyes off what he was doing. A figure crouching on the dish faded into view, the dark, slender figure of Batman. He had been using the suit to camouflage himself, taking on the appearance of his surroundings, the tiles on the communications dish. Slowly guiding the hover bucket through the darkening sky, the engineer was soon face to face with Batman.
Tim Drake. I'm no boy wonder anymore, but that old training never goes away, even at my age,
the man said, smiling. He nodded at Batman. Batman returned the gesture.
You heard about Bruce?
He asked.
Barbara told me. That was too bad,
Tim replied, shrugging.
You're not too broken up,
Batman observed. Tim stared the future knight directly in his eyes.
I had nothing to do with it, despite what you might be thinking. When the Joker reappeared, I was just as surprised as anyone.
Tim dropped his head and sighed deeply.
Barb told you the gory details?
More or less.
Tim maneuvered his hover bucket to a control panel just below the dish. Batman scrambled down, following.
Look, it's been almost 40 years. It wasn't easy, but I managed to put it to bed and go on with my life. You'll have to do it yourself one day. We all did. We gave our best, but in the end, that wasn't good enough for the old man.
Regrets, Mr. Drake?
Tim shook his head slowly, then looked away.
When I was younger, part of me thought I would go on, and someday, capes, costumes, playing hero, it was kid stuff. Bruce probably did me a favor. In the end, I was so sick of it, I never wanted to see that stupid Robin suit again.
Tim turned around, but Batman was gone, swallowed up by the Gotham night. Tim smirked.
Some things never change.
Shaking his head, he went back to work. The Batmobile shrieked toward Gotham Harbor. Batman was talking to Commissioner Gordon, who sat at the Batcomputer's control console in the Batcave.
Were all of you that bitter when you left?
Comes with the territory, McGinnis.
She replied, glancing around the Batcave. Too many memories.
Look up Nightwing someday, has he got stories?
Batman laughed softly. He knew Barbara was referring to Dick Grayson. Before Tim Drake became Robin, Dick had been the boy wonder. Eventually, he had decided to create his own identity, separate from Batman. He'd struck out on his own, as Nightwing. For a moment, Terry wondered if he'd get to meet Grayson as well, then considered something else and reported,
Drake's clean anyway. I've got one more lead to check out. Someone with a definite grudge to hold against Bruce Wayne.
He closed the private communications frequency and increased the Batmobile's speed. Once the Batmobile had neared the harbor, Batman leapt from the flying car. His boot jets kicked on, and the future night slowly descended to the waterfront. Within moments, he reached an enormous yacht with a single word painted on the side, Wayne. The company yacht was rarely used by the man for whom it was named. However, other Wayne Enterprises executives took advantage of the luxury it afforded. Jordan Price entered the opulent stateroom of the yacht, poured champagne, and turned to the female figure reclining on the darkened bed.
Caviar, soft music, and charming company. Amy, my dear, I can't think of any better way to celebrate my ascension to CEO of Wayne Enterprises,
he said.
Me neither.
Replied the girl on the bed, but her voice startled him.
Me neither.
He heard a similar voice saying, but this time coming from the door, as Dee Dee turned on the light.
You? Where's Amy?
Asked Price.
Missed the boat, I'm afraid,
said the first girl, getting out of bed and looking out the window. As the yacht was pulling away from the dock, in the distance, Price saw a woman tied tightly with a rope around a pole, her mouth covered with tape.
Turn the yacht around,
he yelled at Dee Dee.
Detox, boss man. We're here to talk business,
snarled Chucko from the sofa.
We'll be quick,
Ghoul said, blocking the door to keep Price in.
Wolf gets seasick easy.
The half-boy, half-hyena creature appeared behind him, holding his mouth with one hand and his stomach with the other.
Our business is concluded,
Price responded arrogantly. He was not about to be bullied. Batman reached the ship's main cabin and secured his magnetic boots to an outside wall. Peering through a window, he spotted several of the Joker's gang inside, just as he'd suspected. Activating his hidden fingertip microphone, he pressed his gloved hand against the glass and listened intently to the conversation going on inside the cabin.
You've got the equipment you wanted. I gave you the security code so you could ransack the lab.
Price gestured at the other gang members.
While those bunglers tried to kill Wayne.
Chucko stared at Price, who was casually pouring himself a glass of champagne. To secure his attention, Chucko roughly grabbed the bottle and tossed it out the cabin's window.
Word is Wayne's terminal anyhow,
he announced.
That means you get to stay top dog.
Dee Dee cackled.
And everyone's happy.
The other Dee Dee added, finishing her sister's thought.
So why are you here?
Price asked, growing uneasy, forcing a smile.
The big guy who originally put us all in contact has decided you're a loose end,
Chucko explained.
And loose ends should be tied up,
Ghoul added, stepping in front of Price. Price stood up to run, but Ghoul grabbed him.
Let me go,
Price shouted. Ghoul slammed Price back into a chair and held him in place while the Dee Dees tied him up. Then Ghoul squeezed a skull-shaped metal ring on his finger, activating a communications link.
Got him,
Ghoul reported.
Then answer pronto, kiddies,
said a voice from the ring.
Things are going to start popping.
Let's go!
Leaving Price, the Jokers ran for the door, only to find Batman blocking their way.
No one's leaving until I get answers,
the future Knight announced. Wolf stepped toward Batman, growling.
No, you idiot, not now!
Chucko shouted at the beast. The Jokers turned and bolted across the cabin, leaping through the windows. Scrambling into their flying Joker car, they sped away from the yacht.
They're getting away!
Price yelled.
Yeah, and I think they've got a good reason,
Batman replied, while untying Price and pulling him out onto the yacht's deck. Suddenly, brilliant light filled the night sky and spread across the yacht.
What's happening?
Price shouted, shielding his eyes.
Hang on!
Batman yelled, grabbing Price around the waist. His boot jets flared, and the future Knight sped away from the yacht, with Price in tow. Just then, a streak of energy stabbed down from the night sky, slamming into the yacht. The multi-million-dollar boat exploded into pieces, scattering across the harbor. The blast sent out a shockwave that jolted Batman and Price, sending them tumbling. Adjusting the power on his boot jets, Batman regained control and glided softly toward the dock. A police hover cruiser pulled up beside them, and the two officers leapt out.
We saw the explosion,
one of them explained.
You can ask Mr. Price about that,
Batman said.
Me?
Price asked innocently.
I had nothing to do with it.
That right?
Batman replied, activating an audio device hidden in the wrist of his suit. Price's voice came from a small speaker.
I gave you the security code so you could ransack the lab while those bunglers tried to kill Wayne. I want my lawyer,
Price said, as one of the officers led him to the cruiser. A small recording chip containing the entire conversation popped into Batman's gloved hand.
I think the commissioner'd like to hear this too,
he said, handing the chip to the other officer.
Knight.
Then Batman blasted off the dock and disappeared back into the night.